good, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Boogie and The Bell. I am The Bell, of course, joined with Boogie. Boogie, how we doing?
Man, we on fire today, man. Feeling good. Just had a crazy national championship game. Shout out to Michigan, taking home that college national championship. Now that college is done, we're fully focused on the NFL and getting into these NFL playoffs. So I'm ready, man.
You got it. Just to give a little more context to that, I did have Washington win until I saw Michigan's very first drive. And I knew Michigan was going to take over this game. And Washington didn't fight back before the half. Came out strong in the second half. The rest is history. But like Bell Boogie said, season is over. Now we are focused 100% on NFL wildcard playoff weekend. We had a lot of predictions going in, who was going to make it, who wasn't going to make it. I think I was pretty much wrong about most stuff, but the Boogie got a lot of things right, especially that Bills pick. That Bills pick was really fire, especially after watching that Bills game. But let's just go ahead and get right into the show. This is going to be an NFL wildcard playoff special week. Go ahead, Boogie. We're going to start with our trivia, of course, and we got Boogie going first. Go ahead.
All right. Hey, Bill, my question to you. What 5 teams have the best overall record in the playoffs?
Packers.
Packers are number 3, 59%.
Steelers
are tied for number 4, 57.1%.
Patriots
number 1, 62.7%.
Eagles? Seahawks?
Nope.
They got some historically good teams, but all right. Well, how many I got?
You got 3, so you're missing 2. You got 1 team in the AFC, 1 team in the NFC.
Let's go Chiefs.
No. Chiefs are recent. Yeah, Chiefs are tied for number 11.
Oh wow. Let's go Denver Broncos. Playoff wins? Hell no.
No.
See, the Broncos get really good for a season, and then they fall all the way down for like 5 years.
The Broncos are number 7. I mean, I think people forget that we have been to 8 Super Bowls. So
yeah, for real.
That adds up. But no, they're number 7.
All right, we got 2 more.
I think one of them's kind of a surprise. The other one, you got to think historically great franchise.
Historically great. I don't know why I always black out here. Historically great franchise. We got the Steelers, Packers, Patriots. My dumbass was about to say Green Bay. Historically, wow. Let me look at all the teams.
Think NFC West.
NFC West. San Fran? Of course.
San Francisco, number 2, 61% winning percentage in the playoffs.
And now we're talking
AFC North. You already got the Steelers.
Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens.
I don't know why I would disrespect the Ravens. It's cool. It's cool that the Ravens have it because the Ravens and Steelers always, like, at least for our lifetimes, have always come to the playoffs to play. Even if they don't make it all the way, they always come to play. So you think of Ben Roethlisberger, like, he always had a chance of making it out of the first round. So
hey, the Ravens surprised me on this list. Number 6 on the list is the Las Vegas Raiders.
I don't see it. Surprising. You remember Brady's first Super Bowl? You remember that first Super Bowl that year? I remember the Raiders were good back then, but not in my lifetime. I just like an overly dominant team to make 1 or 2 playoff runs. No, or 1 or 2 playoff wins. I haven't experienced that in my lifetime, but that one was trash. Anyways, moving on from our confusing trivia, we're going to work on that one for next week, and I will be ready to tell him the right division or wrong division. But moving right into our Boogie and the Bell's wild card playoff parlays. Who you got, Boogie?
All right, so for my parlay, sticking straight with the money line. So I got the Houston Texans at plus 108, the Kansas City Chiefs at minus 230, the Los Angeles Rams at plus 140, the Buccaneers at plus 134, the Bills at minus 520. That's just disrespectful. And the Dallas Cowboys at minus 330. So overall, that puts my parlay at plus 2503. Turn $10 into 250.
And you said you had the Bears winning.
The Bears. I got
Who
the
did you
Bucks
say?
winning. The Bucks.
Bucks winning. Excuse me.
I got
You
the
got the
Bucks
Bucks
winning.
winning?
I got the Bucks winning. I do.
I was like, what the hell? All right. Crazy, man. For my 6-leg parlay, I got Houston Texans beating the Cleveland Browns. I think that they're hotter, but we're gonna talk into and get into it more into the next segment. I got Houston Texans money line, Miami Dolphins money line. I have Buffalo Bills money line, Dallas Cowboys money line, Detroit Lions money line. And last but not least, I have the Philadelphia Eagles going into the Bucks territory and taking that one. So those are our parlays for this wild card week. And now going into our first segment, we're actually going to talk about why we picked who we picked. So we might as well just go through every single game. Like first game on the agenda is Houston, correct?
Yeah, Houston. We both picked the Texans to win.
All right, you
Yeah,
want to give a little context on that?
I mean, it's kind of interesting. Houston is the home team, but they're the underdog, which makes sense because I think Cleveland is playing really good. Their defense, number one defense in the NFL this season, and their offense, led by Joe Flacco, has been on fire. The last like however many games, 4 or 5 games he's played this season. So I wouldn't be mad at anyone picking the Browns, but I do like the Houston Texans as an underdog. CJ Stroud shows that he can win games. They may not win the game pretty, but I think they can win the game.
I simply got them winning just because I think they're on a bigger hype train than the Browns. I think the Browns are coming back onto the hype train, having a good team coming into the year and having such a strong start, and then having all the chaos in between their quarterback situation. And then I do think that they have something good with Joe Flacco, and I think he's going to perform just fine throughout the game. But I don't think that he's going to overpower C.J. Stroud, who's been doing it for a full season. You know, nobody could take away the entire season that C.J. Stroud has had. And this is a rookie quarterback. You know, he's accepted all the responsibilities of this. I think he'll accept all the responsibilities of his first playoff game. So I got Houston there. Next, we got Miami versus Kansas.
Oh yeah, you're crazy. You picked the Dolphins?
I think the Dolphins are a better team. I think the Dolphins have showed how they are a mess, but I think the Kansas City showed all year how they're really a mess. It came out hot, and then it's been a complete mess. They lose games out of frustration. The Dolphins lose games because they're not having the most explosive time out there, right? Now, with that said, they lost that Bills game just because of a complete mess. But I think Kansas City has showed a bigger mess than the Dolphins have throughout this year. We got to remember, what's the Dolphins' record?
11-6.
And the Chiefs are 10-6.
No, they're 10-7.
10-7. Excuse me. So, which one of those two teams do you think have messier losses?
Messier losses.
Just a mess. I'm talking about receivers missing wide open catches in the end zone.
This is how I see it. The Chiefs have been a consistent mess kind of throughout the season. And
yes.
But the Miami Dolphins, when they've been on fire, they've been on fire. When they've been cold, they've been cold. So I'd rather take Kansas City, who's been kind of like steady all season, than super high and super low Miami. They'll be super hot for a quarter and then trash the rest of the game. So that's why I think Kansas City can win it. But also, I mean, you got to think. I think Kansas City is going to be the better coach team. They're playing at home. It's a tough environment. The game is going to be super cold. Like I think with wind chill, it's going to be in the negatives. And I realized Tua has never had to play in the cold weather. grew up in Hawaii,
Possibly,
played
yeah.
football at
Alabama,
Alabama, and he's in
SEC.
Miami. He's never had to play a game like this. You want your first snow game, your first real challenge to be in the NFL on the road versus Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? I don't think so. That's for those reasons I think Kansas City is going to win.
If you think the receivers for Kansas City weren't catching balls before, imagine in negative 10-degree weather.
Hey bro, they're gonna do all types of nifty stuff. They're gonna do a lot of short pitches,
You can't
short
do all that
routes
scrambling in
underneath.
negative degree weather. It's
True.
gonna be though.
Yeah.
I think I got Miami winning that game. I think that they're gonna show up to win one playoff game, and I think they're done after that. Next, Buffalo Bills versus Pittsburgh Steelers. Nothing too big here.
No, I don't think anybody really has the Steelers winning. I mean, Steelers good defense. Mason Rudolph is starting the game at quarterback. He's been doing good the last couple weeks, but I think the Bills are just the better team, better quarterback. Bills are at home. I don't see a reason why the Steelers could win this game.
The biggest thing I take from this game is shouts out Mike Tomlin, man. Like for you to be able to do it time and time again and not give up on any single season, and somebody in your division is most likely going to win the Super Bowl. My Super Bowl pick is inside your division. There's not too much hope highs. You could have waited for a playoff pick, you could have waited for a draft pick. You could have tried to shoot down for that. But for you to be such a great coach that you could take a team like that and take them anywhere close to the playoffs. Shouts out to Mike Tomlin. They win just by showing up and not losing by more than 20 points. They show up by not losing by more than 14 because it is Mike Tomlin and it is playoff football. So,
I mean, the spread is at +10, so yeah, I could see this being a two-score
14,
game.
14
Yeah,
point, yeah,
14.
14-point loss. We're not mad at you did a lot with not you did a lot with a little.
Yeah, given the turbulence at quarterback, I think people would be happy with the Steelers season.
And how's Big 90 doing? Big white boy.
TJ,
Yeah, is he
TJ Watt, he's out. He's not playing in
he's
the
out?
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tore a shoulder, a pecker, what was it? Shoulder?
No, I think it was lower body.
Was it?
Like there was like a chance that he could have played. Like if let's say the Steelers hypothetically win this game, then he could potentially come back after.
Okay.
But this week
He was balling that game too. He
he's
took his sack.
been balling all
Shouts out to the
season.
sack champ. Yep. Shouts
Yeah.
out to the sack champ. Dallas Cowboys, Green Bay.
I think the only thing notable here is just the storyline between these two teams playing in Dallas. I think that's about it. Last time was Aaron Rodgers and the Des Bryant catch that wasn't a catch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean Cowboys, they should win this game. Again, better team, better coach at home.
Just for interest's sake, I got the Cowboys getting their last win of the NFL football season this week. Whoever they play next week, it's over. It's over. Detroit Lions. This is my game of the week. Detroit Lions versus the Los Angeles Rams.
Hey, Jared Goff revenge game. Former team, former coach coming to his new home.
They won a Super Bowl on him.
They won the Super Bowl right after throwing him away. So I think not only is Jared Goff out to prove something, this Detroit Lions team is also out to prove something. This is their best regular season in I don't know how many years, and they're trying to prove that they're a legit contender in the NFC. But I think, unfortunately, they're going to come up short. I picked the Rams to win this in my parlay. I know, right? I picked the Rams. Why? Sean McVay, great head coach. Matthew Stafford, the last couple weeks of the season, was playing his best ball. I think the young cats on the Rams, they have a bunch of young players. Those players have been stepping up, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I think with the Rams, everyone's healthy. They're not missing really anybody noteworthy. Wide receivers healthy, running back healthy, Matthew Stafford healthy. So I think this is a good opportunity for the Rams to come into Detroit and steal one.
I think the Broncos, not to bring up a team that has nothing to do with life right now, but I think the Broncos had a stretch in the season that was absolutely amazing. It was electrifying. They only dropped the game before they played the Lions by a play. Russell threw a pick in the end zone at the very end of the game. Last play of the game. That's how the game ended, by a pick. Broncos would have won that game. They would have been riding a 6 or 7 game win streak. Even after that loss, when the Broncos went to Detroit to play the Detroit Lions, there was still that high hope where it's like, no, the Broncos are playing really good football. The Lions have been a little bit shaky. I think that this game is going to go the exact same way, where the Lions are going to show that they are a top 5 team in the NFL and a top 3 or 2 team in the NFC. And I think that they're just going to show the Rams like, oh, no. Like, we're a team this year. Like, this is a actual squad. Like, this isn't just, we didn't do this by luck. We didn't get lucky at the end of games. I think that they're really going to lay it on them. I'm thinking 30-10.
Ooh, you think it's that kind of game?
I think they're going to lay into them. I think Jared Goff's going to come firing, spread, fire, left, right, just shot after shot. Hey, after 2 drives of that Broncos game, I was like, oh, no, there's still levels to this. So the Broncos are on their little cool win game stream. They caught good teams in the mix. But when they came out firing, to score. And I think the Lions are going to show that way more than the Rams, who haven't had a consistent season.
Fair enough. We'll see,
Philadelphia, man. Yeah, it's gonna be. That's my game of the week. Like I think that he's just gonna let that thing fly.
Oh no, I agree. I think that'll be the most entertaining one. I think that game and the Kansas City Miami game will be the most entertaining games.
And last but not least, we got the Philadelphia Eagles and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lavelle, please give me your your last piece of your parlay.
I told you, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is going to take it at home. Baker, Money, Mayfield. He's been surprising everybody this season. He's been playing beyond his expectations. And the Eagles, man, the Eagles are not the same Eagles of last year. They're not the same Eagles of 6 weeks ago. They went 1-5 down the back end of the season. And really what it was seeing that outing last week against the Giants when they just looked piss poor. And that game mattered. They were still in contention for like the number 2 seed. If they won that game and Dallas lost, they could have been the number 2 seed, and they looked trash in that game. So I think they're cold at the worst possible time. I still don't really think Jalen Hurts is healthy. AJ Brown went down in the Giants game, so he's not going to be 100% if he plays. I think Devontae Smith is also dealing with an ankle injury, so that offense is going to be limited. I think that team is kind of sputtering. Meanwhile, the Bucks are pretty healthy. Baker is playing good, so I'm taking the Bucks, and the Bucks are at home, so why not?
I think the Eagles are going to go back to a very physical game, and I think they potentially can be more physical than the Bucks defense. And that's a strong statement because I do think the Bucks are stronger at their core, especially on riding this hot streak with Baker. I don't think Baker affects this game as much as Jalen Hurts affects this game. And what I mean by that, if Jalen Hurts shows up and plays a more physical game, not trying to air it out and just having a lot of production with his legs, because now is the time. Now you could take that extra hit. Now it's 2 brotherly shoves in a row. It's brotherly shove on 3rd and 2. I think that they're going to be more physical. And I think now that it's the playoffs and, it's win now or go home, then he'll take more risk. As far as running the ball, as far as gaining extra yards, I think that will be the big key to this game is who's more physical. So if if the Eagles offense shows up more physical, I think that they're going to get those extra yards that the Bucks simply can't. And not that this is unknown territory for Baker Mayfield, but I don't think he's going to be ready for the pressure if Jalen Hurts shows up. Jalen Hurts has showed up before. He's made it all the way to the Super Bowl and even showed up in that game. And even in that Super Bowl game, he played a very physical game where it's like, I'm going to get my yards. And we're going to go up the middle. And we're not going to go out on 3rd and 2. You might as well forget about it. Because if it's 4th and 1, then you know what's happening next. I think it depends on how much he gets on the ground. I think his ground game's everything, and then the confidence he establishes with that early, I think that will help his air ball game, and I think they'll take it from there. But I don't have the Buccaneers beating the Eagles, man.
Hey! Don't doubt Baker. Baker has been here before. Y'all forget he won a playoff game against the Steelers for the Browns. won that game, and he came within a score of beating the Kansas City Chiefs on the road.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was fire.
Hey,
That was a
don't
fire
forget,
year of football.
Hey, Baker is here. Baker's ready to play, and he's playing at home. That's the big thing. He's playing in a friendly environment. So
I don't think the home. We're talking. I think the Eagles take that. And I think the two picks that we have opposite on our parlays, I think those are gonna be like the winner or loser for sure. Like I think those are, every other game is set in stone besides those. We have how should the Ravens and the 49ers be preparing? I don't know exactly how the scenario works out based off of who they play, because I know they just go straight to the worst record, right?
yeah, so
Or it's just divisional.
they'll
Yeah, get the
play
worst record.
whoever has the worst seed, that makes it to the next round. So the highest they could play in the next round is the Houston Texans. Talking about the Ravens, they can play the Texans if it's 1 through 4 remaining. Um, or they could play is down to the who's the 7th seed on the AFC? Is it the Steelers? It is the Steelers. So they could play. They could play the Steelers. They could play the Browns, or they could play the Texans next week.
This Ravens team's ready, and they should be preparing for this AFC Championship game. Not to take away from any team that they could potentially face, but once again, as long as Lamar Jackson stays healthy, they're preparing for an AFC Championship game. I mean, one stepping stone. We aren't the professional athletes, so we don't have to look that far ahead. And I'm not saying they should. They should, take every opponent that they have in front of them seriously, but they should be preparing for a healthy AFC Championship game. So that means a lot of game management out of Lamar for if they play Houston or any team in that bottom level. Now with the NFC, I have a guy who thinks that the Rams are going to make it to play the 49ers.
Hey, dude, honestly, I think the 49ers, I think they should be wary of the Rams-Lions game. Whoever comes out of that game is a threat. I don't think the Cowboys are a threat. I think the Rams. I think the Rams are the Lions. Whoever wins that game, that's your threat. That's who you should be worried about. That and
I would love to see a Cowboys versus 49ers game in the NFC Championship, which we're not talking about yet, but I think the 49ers have more to worry about next week than the Ravens do, just based off of who's left.
I think with the 49ers, I think their biggest enemy right now is health.
I agree.
They just need to make it through the playoffs healthy. I think they can take on anybody in the NFC and win, but only if you're healthy.
Lamar shows up next week, manages a game very great, and stays healthy. No issue getting to the AFC Championship game. 49ers, if they show up and one of those key players gets injured, we're talking about a whole different ball game for the rest of the game, whether it's the first, second, third, or fourth quarter. Unless they play the Rams. I'm not sold on this Rams stuff. Especially against no 49ers. Come on now. Way too much firepower for those.
If it ends up being Rams 49ers, if it ends up being Rams 49ers, I will take the 49ers. But I just think the Rams have the potential to upset this week.
Yeah. All right. And we're going to go topic number 3. Boogie, what we got?
All right. Topic number 3. We're going to switch to the non-playoff teams. So I'm asking you, Abel, which teams this NFL season was the biggest disappointment and which team was the biggest surprise?
The biggest surprise is going to be the Houston. I'll give flowers to the Houston. Well, are we trying to stick off or
either or? Yeah, you can throw, man.
We got to throw Houston in there, man. Come on now. Like, look at Houston last year. Look at Houston this year. Their quarterback, he came to play, and then they have a linebacker? That boy's a dog. That boy cold. They have a rookie linebacker who went nuts. I think Houston just came to play this year. I mean, Houston upstated the Broncos. They threw all our hope away to make it to the playoffs. I think they look like they're having fun out there. Every time I watch Houston play, they look like they were having fun. Even when they were losing, they look like they were having fun. They look young. They look healthy. They look good out there. Like, that's a big surprise, And we got to remember, who are we comparing Houston to? We're not comparing Houston to the Eagles who went into the Super Bowl last year. We're comparing Houston to the Panthers, who's another young team. And look how Bryce Young's year went compared to CJ Stroud. Like, that's the true comparison at the same level. So you tell me which one's the biggest disappointment and which one's the biggest surprise. Now, on the disappointment side, I don't think that the Broncos had a disappointing season. To go 5 and I'm trying to get the new numbers right. 5-12, correct? To get to 17.
The end of the season 7-10.
Last year?
Oh, last year. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was 5 or 6 wins. If you told me this year that they were just gonna go 8-7, I would completely believe you. But benching your quarterback, trying to get rid of him, introducing a new coach, getting rid of all these players, losing a lot of salary cap. Russell Wilson completely failed this huge contract, only had 2 years of a shot at it, showed signs of life, then completely threw it away again. I think the most disappointing team for me is my own, the Denver Broncos. Another team I'll throw in there is not their fault, but definitely the Vikings. I mean, we're talking about a great team with a great record. They were a great team with a great record until what? Quarterback gone. Quarterback gone kind of early too, right? But I thought the Vikings were playing awesome at the beginning of the year. And instead of having this amazing comeback like the Bills had, you just can't plug in whatever quarterback you want. Even when the ball dude, even when he came in there going crazy for 1 or 2 weeks, it's not sustainable because he didn't have the chemistry with the team. So when he went into a house that had a solid team with all their players, I mean, you see how the rest of their season played out.
Interesting.
They got star players that didn't get to show.
I didn't think you were going to say the Vikings or the Broncos for the disappointment. That took me by surprise. Yeah,
but
the Broncos.
Imagine what hell, and imagine if the Broncos just finished games early. Like those are 2 great seasons they could have had.
I guess when I pictured like disappointments, I'm thinking like most hype at the beginning of the season, and at the end of the season it was like, what the hell happened? So I guess the Broncos kind of fall into that category. I think a lot of people had us as a fringe playoff team at the beginning of the season with Sean Payton coming in. So, but the Vikings, I didn't expect a lot from the Vikings this year anyway. So
really, okay.
Not really, but yeah, I knew they were going to decline from last year at least a little bit, but c'est la vie.
I also watched Quarterback last year. Did you watch Quarterback?
I watched the first like 3 or 4 episodes. It was pretty cool. Kirk Cousins is he's a pretty solid guy. Like he's just ordinary.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Works hard. Like, nothing wrong with
So him going down, I think watching that series and then seeing like, the day-to-day lives for them, I'm like, him going down is like, damn, this is a disappointing season. Because no, it wasn't a Super Bowl contending season, but it was still like, we're at the top of this division, which they were for a long time this season, even when they were just losing game after game after game, like still there, and then you're just completely out of the playoffs come last 3 weeks of the season. Who you got?
So for disappointments, the biggest disappointments that I saw, comparing to where we thought they would be at the beginning of the season to where they ended, the New York Jets. Everyone had high expectations for them. You think Aaron Rodgers is coming in and they're going to the playoffs, maybe even Super Bowl, and then Aaron Rodgers goes down first 3 or 4 plays of the season. And
the intro of the lifetime.
What?
Blunt and all, American flag, white man leading the charge. See, that one's not disappointing to me because it happened 18 weeks ago. Like, we're like that's like before our mid-20s. Like, we're past it. Like, that shit was a quarter of a year ago. That's why, like, that one's not disappointing to me because we were disappointed 18 weeks ago of our life.
Hey, but I look at it like this: the Jets, their defense was like a top 5 defense, and their offense was a bottom 5 offense. So like, that kind of got shot in the foot. So if Aaron Rodgers had been healthy, I think that team would have went places. But that's disappointing. Another disappointment: the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
They started the season 8-3, and missed the playoffs. All they had to do was like win a game, like in the one of the last like 3 games, and they would have won their division. Couldn't do it. It's just a complete
It's
collapse. Trevor
Jacksonville
Lawrence
though.
played like it's Jacksonville, but I mean, but they were hot. They were playing good. You have Trevor Lawrence, who everyone thought was going to be a great quarterback. You have what's his name, Doug Peterson, good good coach, won a Super Bowl for the Eagles. Like you think they're going to come together and they're going to do something. And at the beginning, the first 60% of the season, they looked like they were going to do something. And then the last leg, they just died, man.
I was never sold on the Jaguars going to the AFC Championship, so them missing the playoffs isn't huge for me. Being an 8-3 team and completely losing it is just it's disgusting. But you look at teams like the Bills, like you're gonna see who really does want to play in this league, regardless of how much struggles they're having. So Jaguars giving up compared to the Bills saying, "Oh y'all must have forgot." I you know I'd be more
Yeah,
disappointed if the Bills missed the playoffs this year,
yeah,
even after
I
that
I
amazing
agree.
comeback. Yeah. So,
Yeah, but for surprises,
uh,
I agree with you about the Texans though. The Texans,
oh
huge
man,
surprise.
stand out, stand
And we
out.
and we
Who
for-
did you
and
have
we
another
forget
standout?
uh the Bucks. The Bucks are a surprise. To
Yeah,
be honest with you, nobody
shouts
expected
out
them to
Baker.
come in and win a division with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, but he did it.
But I
So I
don't
think
think you
the
guys understand. There's something that really does happen out there. I don't know what it is. Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions and 30 touchdowns, had the yards title, passing yards title, and everything. Like Tom Brady comes in and takes that team to a Super Bowl. Then you get Baker Mayfield and like that off like just I don't know if they've had the same offensive coordinator all these years because we're talking about a lot of years, but or maybe
hey
it's the
shout out
weather.
hey shout out Mike Evans. Mike Evans
Oh
is a
yeah,
dog. I don't think he
for
gets enough
real.
credit, man. I think he's had 1,000 yards receiving every season of his career. He's like 8 or 9 years in. Hey, he's a dog, and he's been like the
Consistent
one
all.
consistent piece in that offense. So
Hell yeah. You plug in like I just look at their past three quarterbacks and I'm just like the GOAT takes you to the Super Bowl. Jameis Winston has no problem passing, just problem passing to the right person. And then you got Baker Mayfield doing what he did. They got an offensive program over there, boy. For real.
yeah, those are
Topic
my
number
surprises.
4, Boogie.
And moving on. So next, we're gonna talk about head coaches. So the last couple days, man, we've seen some great step down. Pete Carroll decided to walk away from the Seahawks. Not NFL related, but Nick Saban retiring from Alabama. That's insane. And then Bill
Insane.
Belichick. Bill Belichick. He's parting ways with the New England Patriots after 21 or 24 seasons. Insane stuff. So my question to you, A. Bill, out of all of the vacant head coaching opportunities, which one is the most appealing? Now I'll go ahead and list out all the current vacancies right now. So the current vacancies are Atlanta Falcons, Washington Commanders, New England Patriots, Los Angeles Chargers, Las Vegas Raiders, Seattle Seahawks, Tennessee Titans, and the Carolina Panthers.
So this one's easy for me because if you go and be the Chargers coach, you have some dogs on your team. You got some great players. You got you don't have a great system. All you have to do is build a great system for players who are already there. Like we got Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack's contract's returning, correct?
He is on contract. He's still be on the team. Personally, I think they're gonna cut him in the offseason because they are way
Really?
over the because they're way over the salary cap. Not because he's not good. I don't think they can afford to keep him. Like somebody on
Mm.
that team is getting cut this offseason because they can't afford all the people on that roster.
If you want to turn a team that was supposed to be good back into just a good team, then the Chargers is the way to go. And there's no pressure because you can't do worse than what the last guy did. Because you still have great players who actually the year before on the team culture had a great season, right? Um, what did they miss the playoffs to the Chiefs or did they lose to the playoffs? They lost to the Chiefs in the
They
playoffs.
last year, I don't even think they made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, they did because they lost to the Broncos in the last game of the season, but they still had a
No,
playoff seat.
they or let me double check this before. Oh yeah, I'm looking at this season. Let me check. Last season, oh yeah, the Chargers did make the playoffs. They went 10-7.
Yeah, so you're just trying to get back there. And in your first year coaching the Chargers, all you got to do is get back there. Keep Justin Herbert's career on the straight path. Now, if you are starting from scratch, you do not want to go after Pete Carroll. You do not want to go after Bill Belichick. You don't want to be the guy because, unfortunately, when teams lose like a culture guy, like the guy who's been a part of the culture for years, 10 plus years, in Bill's case, 20 plus years, you don't want to just be the next guy thrown in there because, trust me, they're going to bubble you in. You're going to have a bad year, maybe two, and they're going to bubble you right out until they can find the person who they're truly looking for. With that said, if you want to start from scratch, what better opportunity to go with the Panthers? You're going to have a good pick. You have a number one pick, and all you have to do is the exact opposite of what the coach this year did.
The Panthers,
he had no help.
The Panthers don't have a number. They don't have a pick in the first round. Are you saying Bryce Young? They traded it? Are you saying Bryce Young? Oh, you're talking Bryce Young, I guess.
But all you have to do is do what the last coach didn't do and create a team around a 5'6" quarterback. When he has talent, don't take away his talent. But did you put him in the best position? He's like 5'4". He's like 5'4". But was he put in the best position? When you go to Alabama, it's because you are the most talented at what you could do, right? So you have to be put around the people who could expose your talents to the best of his level. If you could get a fraction, if you could just grab the players he used to play with who didn't make it to the league, he would have a better season than he did this year because he would be closer to a system where he could actually win. What part of the Panthers season had any point I don't even know how they won a game. At what point did they have anything close to a system that worked for their quarterback? So to be a head coach who could come in and say, look, we can only win 6 games this year, but as long as we can make him look good, because we know he's good, the last coach just did not help him look good at all. So I think they need a brand new coordinator for him, and they need somebody who's going to look at his college tape and be like, okay, we need to predicate his success off of this type of culture on the offensive side. Defense, I mean, they're a terrible team. It's a great coaching opportunity because if you could change them in any way, shape, or form, if you could turn them into a 7-10 team next year, you're going to make your bonus. So why not? So I think the worst positions are probably the better ones to take because you start at a low-level base and you can work your way up. But, being the Patriots' next coach, you're just setting yourself up to be, this isn't Bill. Like you wouldn't want somebody to be like, oh, well, you're not Bill. Well, Bill was here for 20 years. Can you give me 5? No, sadly, if you don't make the playoffs 2 times in 4 years, then we got to get rid of you. Oh, but you gave Bill 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think it's worth that bubbling period. Too many quarterback questions. The Seahawks would be a good position to take, considering that new information to me, Pete's actually staying closer to the team. But they're just hard acts to follow up on. But who you got?
I'm surprised you said the Panthers was a good job. The Panthers sounds like the worst job.
Like what do you have to do?
Dude, what don't you have to do? One, understand who your boss is. Your boss is David Tepper, who's one of the worst owners in the NFL. He's crazy. He's crazy. You take that job, you're probably going to get fired next year, statistically speaking. But also the fact that their offense is a mess. They have Bryce Young, who is a relatively undersized quarterback. They have no offensive talent. Like, where is their offensive talent? Like, there is none.
Yeah, but that can we not agree that came with the
they have
access to billions of dollars, if not
millions. Have no draft capital. They they have no draft. Like, they don't have a first round pick. They might have a second, or maybe they don't have a second round pick. I don't know. But you're not drafting like to save your franchise. You have to work with the what you got on the roster, which isn't a ton. So I don't know, and your boss is crazy. So I think the Panthers might be the worst job, to be honest. I would not take that job let me rephrase. I would take that job because millions of dollars. I would take it.
Yeah,
but if I were
it's practice. But if I was Allen Iverson wanted to win, like this is practice, but coaching that team is practice.
Hey, I played enough Madden and enough Dynasty to be able to turn it around, but
I mean, you'll put him in a better position. Let's say that at least. Shit.
And I think what helps with that job is you're in the NFC South, which is one of the worst divisions. So that helps a little bit, but that's a tough job. Me personally, I know the Chargers seems like the number one job because you already have Justin Herbert, you already have your quarterback figured out. I get that, but me personally, I think the Atlanta Falcons. I think that's the best
The
job
A is lit.
because you have so much talent on that roster. You have Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts, you have Bijan Robinson, you have three offensive weapons that are really good. Their defense isn't great, but their defense is solid. You're gonna have draft capital. They have the number 8 overall pick this year, so you can draft somebody to come in and be an important difference maker. I think the Falcons. I think the Falcons as a team because my thing is with the Falcons, they would have been a much better team if they had the quarterback situation figured out. You're the new coach there, you figure out the quarterback situation. I would either A, draft a quarterback with the 8th overall pick, or B, trade for Justin Fields. Now imagine yeah. I would trade for Justin Fields, get Justin Fields in Atlanta with those young weapons, and let's see what we can do. Let's get something rolling. You know what I mean? Like that's where my head would be. That's why I think the Atlanta
A
Falcons.
might change that, man. Hey, he might have a little extra motivation.
I think he'll have a little extra swagger, man. I think he'll feel good. So I don't know, but that's what I would personally do. I think Atlanta is the top job that's available. The Seahawks, I don't know. Something about the Seahawks job. I think they're a pretty solid team. It's filling those shoes.
Oh, they are
filling those shoes. That is hard.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. The worst positions I think are the Titans and the Panthers. Those are the worst openings.
The Titans, Derrick Henry's out, right?
He is a free agent.
Yeah.
So he can go
where
anywhere.
he goes.
Who knows, man? I mean, he's still serviceable. He finished top 4 or 5 in rushing.
Oh my! Like what? That man, you see how big he is still? What? He ain't getting chunky or nothing. I think he should go to the Ravens.
I think everyone says like a lot of projections think he's gonna go to the Ravens, which I can see. That backfield, Lamar, Derrick Henry, that's crazy. But I don't know if the Ravens put their money there just because they've shown they don't need a certain running back to be great. They've had like 4 different running backs this season, and they've been able to run the ball consistently. So I don't think that's where they spend their money.
I'm more excited to see Derrick Henry's contract. I think he's going to be, after this tenure with the Titans, after taking this team to the playoffs, after calling his starting quarterbacks like Ryan Tannehill and what's the Hawaiian dude's name?
Marcus Mariota.
You know what I'm saying? I think he just, he's in that Odell Beckham stage, and those guys, like I gotta leave these with rings. Like I gotta leave this place with some rings. Von Miller. I think that you get to a certain point in your career where it's like, man, I'm just here to win. And I do think they take that cut. Shouts out to Melvin Gordon. Did you know that Melvin Gordon was on the what's it called?
The Ravens.
The Ravens.
Yeah, he's on their practice squad.
He's so smart. Yeah. Just to collect rings though is so smart. I guarantee you he suits up a Super Bowl if they make it.
You know what's crazy? Dalvin Cook is on the Ravens too.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
He signed with the Ravens too for the rest of the season. So
I like him there next year. I like Derrick Henry there, or I like him just in a powerhouse, strong team. I wish the Steelers were better because I think he'll fit in with that culture just fine. A great coach who will give him the ball and make the most of him. Shouts out Najee Harris. So, yeah. I mean, that's about it, man. Longest episode. You about good?
That's it, man. That's it. I guess we're at the time. It's time to wrap up our show. Yeah, once again, great topics, great discussion, great conversation. Me and A Bell, we're going to be watching the NFL playoff this weekend, and we're going to tap in with y'all next week with updates, man. So thank y'all for watching. Follow us on YouTube and on TikTok, Boogie and The Bell.
Boogie and The Bell.
Yeah.